All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Goodbye Stars podcast. A short podcast for your commute on my commute. Another afternoon edition. You know, Memorial Day weekend just ended, so ran a little bit behind in the morning. Didn't have as much time as I would have liked, but we got plenty of time here today right now. So let's dive right into it. So tonight is the night. This is a pretty big game here. Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. This game is in Edmonton at the Rogers Arena. This is a massive game. Stars down 2-1 in the series after dropping games 2 and 3, both home and away. Um, Lost game 2 3-0, and then lost game 3 6-1. Score told pretty much the story in game 2. We just got pretty much straight outplayed. The offense just couldn't do anything. The Otter, gave up the 3. It's kind of a wash game. Game 3 was a bit of a different story. We lost 6-1, but there was a point where the score was 2-1. Edmonton going into what would have been the third period, down just one goal after the Stars played a really good second period. It's probably the best 5-on-5 period they've played all series, and if not, maybe since one of the early Winnipeg games. So their best period in a while. And then with, I think it was 20 seconds left, McDavid just walked in with all the time in the world and just sniped one on Onger. So that kind of put the game away, took all the momentum away. Obviously down 3-1 going to the third, you can't do that night after night. It's not a winning formula. So we dropped. I think we ended up dropping 3 in the third, and it was bad puck luck on our side. A lot of people have maybe seen that one that just somehow didn't go in on Skinner, where it literally looked like there's an invisible wall. So okay, God just didn't blink her, but it's all good. Um, but so now we go down 2-1. Big game. It's an away game. We haven't really been super great at on the road. Haven't been terrible either. Not like the Jets by any means. So there's definitely a chance. And it's tough to get a read on this game and this series as a whole because you have game 1 where Edmonton kind of dominates and the Stars still win. You have game 2 where Edmonton dominates again and they win and the score reflects that. Then you have game 3 where the Stars dominate and Edmonton comes out on top. Well, I guess I can't say that the Stars dominated, but the Stars looked better. They had the higher goals, expected goals as well. But Edmonton wins. So is this going to be a game where maybe Edmonton um, or Dallas dominates Edmonton? Kind of even everything out. Is it going to be where Edmonton just kind of is always one step ahead of Dallas? It's kind of hard to get a good read on this. Especially with Hintz being a game time decision. He obviously didn't play game 3. I'm not a big fan of the line combinations that Pete DeBoer came up with. I didn't really love just throwing back up on that first line just to not switch anybody else around. I think there is plenty of room for guys who need to jumpstart and to take advantage of this opportunity. You could have thrown Duchesne on there with Rantanen in hopes that he would score one. You have Johnston who's been pretty bad this series, but maybe playing on that top line would help kickstart him as well. Um, I think there's a lot of potential to shake things up. It was I don't know, but I don't know why he's not drawing from it again. But you take the Robertson injury in game 82, where then that guy, you kind of shuffle that top left wing guy until you find Granlund, and he's been a great fit on that top line for that all finish line. So why not try to do that again with the center spot instead of just throwing in your fourth line center, um, fourth fifth line center in there in that top spot. And also kind of cuts Renton off at the knees too. He's a great player. He can make plays by himself. We've all seen Game 7 of the Avs series, but he it never hurts to have another higher end talent type of guy playing alongside of him. Anyways, off that tangent now. Hintz is a game time decision. He said he was feeling good and doing everything he can to get back tonight. So we'll have to wait and see closer to then if he will suit up, if he will dress, or if we will have to go without him. Another game, which it would suck. It's a bad situation, but we won a series without Robertson and Heiskanen. We won a series without Heiskanen for 3 of the games where we were up 2-1. So we've overcome these injuries before, and I know it's a little bit different. Your top line center holds a little bit more value than Robertson, especially a guy who has that chemistry with Rantanen. But still, it should still be something that we can overcome. I think it just kind of comes down to, can we put the puck in the back of the net, and can we stop giving McDavid and Draisaitl these grade A opportunities? I think those are kind of the two keys for tonight. As far as these struggling guys, there's a lot of talk about, Robertson, who, barely got his first goal in Game 3. Duchesne, who hasn't really had anything to show for after his Game 1 goal. Marchment, who hasn't been very productive these past 2 series. Even a guy like Jamie Benn, who now isn't even really expected to be productive, playing on that third or fourth line, depending on whatever the board, throws out that night. He isn't really playing that physical game right now either that he's kind of known for, or even tasked to do maybe. He's not finishing those checks. He's not laying the body. He's not, setting the tone, quote unquote, for the game. And so those guys are, getting a lot of flack, even at this point, over these past 2 games. Ottinger has gotten a bit of pushback and criticism. He's letting a lot of high goals, high blocker side goals, that type of thing. Goals that, maybe you'd want back, if he had another chance at him. But I think what it really comes down to is just this team has, showed throughout, the Avs series, which I think just because it's 2 series ago and it's a little bit, it's not as recent, but the Avs team was a team that was heavily favored. They had, McKinnon and Makar, who are both, top 5 players right now, top 5, top 10, if they want to put Makar top 5. And, they had Mackenzie Blackwood, who had better regular season stats than Ottinger. You had a deep center core in Colorado. You had all these things that were going against Dallas, and they were still able to pull it out in 7. I know the games kind of fell a little bit differently, where Dallas was up 2-1 instead of down 1-2. But this isn't like this is the first real test that Dallas has had in these playoffs. We played good teams, even the Jets, who are a team that I think got a lot of disrespect for because of the Hellebuck play, and having have a last second comeback to advance to the second round in the first place. But that was still a President's Trophy team that beat St. Louis despite Hellebuck having such a bad away record, getting yanked in all 3 of his away games that first round. So this is a very capable Dallas team. And and to my point, I guess, is we did all of that without Robertson, without Heiskanen for the most part. We also did it without Duchesne scoring a goal, without Robertson scoring a goal in the Jets series. We did it without Marchment being super productive. I know it took these Rantanen takeovers and then a Granlund hat trick, but I think that just kind of proves that we have the ability guys have the ability to take over games, and I think that just needs to happen at some point throughout the series. I'm not saying Randy needs to go out and score a hat trick. Games 4, 5, and 6 to beat the Oilers, but I think it helps build momentum. It helps get other guys going. Hopefully, I think that's one big thing that we need to see. As far as the scale of 1 to 10, how important each game, or on a scale of 1 to 10, how important this game is for each team to win. Obviously for Dallas, it's tough to go anything lower than a 9. I think I'm gonna go 9-5. Um, it's tough to imagine this team coming back down 3-1. Not even because of the quality of the team, but the quality of the other team. Um, Moreover, Edmonton just seems too good right now to drop. What would it be? It would be 3 games in a row. Skinner, if they were to win this game 4 tonight, Skinner would just be absolutely rolling. I couldn't see the Stars taking 3 straight. Even if they are all at, or even if they're mostly at home. Um, Also, it's just tough for any team in general to come down 3-1, come back down 3-1. So it'd be pretty tough scenes. You could argue that if Hintz doesn't play tonight and they lose this one and he comes back, game 5 maybe that boost would maybe be able to get him a couple. But I think if they go down 3-1, it kind of unfolds a lot like the Vegas series in 2022, um, where it's the other team just kind of crushes them and they just give up a couple. As far as Edmonton, it's tough because I think if they are to lose this game, it depends a lot on how they lose. If they get blown out of the water, 6-3 like they did game 1, um, and they don't dominate like they did in game 1, I think it becomes a lot more of an important game. Um, if they dominate but lose, it's obviously like good signs. It sucks, but the trends are there. If they win, but I think in any scenario where they win, it's obviously good for them, and it takes a ton of pressure off their shoulders because we saw them win on Sunday, but it wasn't close on the score sheet, but it was the advanced stats and how even on the eye test, it looked a lot closer, even maybe in the Stars' favor. But that didn't seem to affect them at all. They bounced back really well from giving up that first goal. So I think any win in any fashion would just kind of be the same to them. That just kind of seems like the group they are. So I think I give them a 7 for how important this game is. They show that they can bounce back from tough losses. They bounced back really well from that game 1 loss. They bounced back from the game 3 loss against Vegas, where it was the last second. Draisaitl puts it in their own net, and they proceed to take 2 games on Vegas. Lickety split in a sense. I give it a 7, and that's maybe even being a little bit generous. So Edmonton, they are obviously this is a game that any team would want to go up 3-1, but even if they drop this one and then go back to Dallas tied 2-2, I think they have a lot to still be confident about. They've taken a game on the road already this series. They have showed that they are probably at more times than not been the better team. So I don't think they would have a lot to worry about. Um, for Dallas, I really think it's just building the momentum this game. I feel like I say this time and time again now, but scoring the first goal I think is just becoming more and more important, especially against a team like Edmonton that can seemingly just get the ball rolling really easily. Where they get 1 and then it's they're gonna get 2 and then they're gonna get 3 and then just like that we're down 3-0. So it's just getting that first goal, or at the very in as much as it sucks to say, they need the first goal no matter what. I don't even think it can be a situation where They outplay Edmonton in every way, but they still dropped the first goal. So I think that's just going to be the biggest key for Dallas. But we'll see. I think a lot of it hinges on Hintz, how the lines play out, and then how well they can respond to adversity. Being down 2-1 for the first time in this postseason run. It shouldn't be really anything new to some of these more experienced guys, but I guess we'll just have to kind of see. But yeah, this is gonna do it for the Goodbye Stars podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be here tomorrow to talk about the result of the game, and hopefully it's a good one. So, see you guys later.